Right. Let's just read this shit. Let's just hope this works, okay? I wish life was as accepting as death, but as contradictory as my proclamations of living sound. Deep within me, there's a hunger. Like in the great joke of life, my part is trying to get a laugh along. In this one verse that lasts so long, it feels like the best part happened when the lights turned off. When they do so again, I wish the noise shuts off, the drama ends, the dynamic shuts down, and the bottom of the chords ends. But gods can't end, and life can't end. So I'm born into a joke I'm meant to carry along with, and call the things that happened to me issues I could have solved. Then what's the point of being alive? A question everyone asks unless your life is one of those on the wish list of every hero, protagonist, or every other broken character parasocially fantasized for the exhibitions of a life we vicariously live through to comfort our sheltered souls passed by a screen that fails to imagine the shadows of these beings that are littered in our society, in the news and media feeds. I am fully aware of my innate uselessness. Nothing more arises of my being here, with my ability to delude myself, and the reality to refute it. Mother Nature never raised me for paradise, only to find out if I had a good time, because all we know is Father loves to take control. That's why life beats me up and calls it education. And that's why I have to pretend I'm on a mission before I become a symbol of demolition. I'm not suicidal, not in the least. The very idea I wish not to spread, the will to die, after all, is contradictory. Like, why should I be existing while proving the contrary? Speaking of contrary, I wish sometimes people will be honest. But knowing life, most people will just seem it, laying on the bed of emotion and letting the waves flow over, calling themselves hurt, just for the anger to take over. Now that sounds like a life I'd not live. Not like I'm in a better place, here imagining that life will be an abundance of an emotion I grew to call waste. Because the happiness that I threw around back when I was young is the very reason I'm writing this thing. That's not a philosophy. I'm not a philosopher. I just wish life had more options than be dead, great, or exist to see what's funny in them. The jokes write themselves, and so did my actions. I make too many mistakes to brush off as mere interactions. Between the things I love and hate, there's only a difference of distraction. Like, how much can I overlook my conquered mountain? The only thing I say is the difference between here and the next one. I became the climber who's numb to himself, and the cold is just a reaffirmation of the words I told myself. That someday a mountain will speak to me, but someday is just a day mountains speak to me. I never knew what it was like to have a cool teenage life. Just coast, just coasting through life, wishing that money would pay back the strife. I have an above average income, but to pin my misfortunes on the lack of money is just a misfire. Your aim, after all, is not to survive, but to see what's the bother behind this petty word we throw around called life. Behind the words I write is a person who wishes heaven didn't have such a painful path, that of strife, which is a mix between pain and giggle. Only thing worth chasing was the struggle before I realized I'm indebted to this thing called life. Because if you aren't doing it, then you better accept what's not right. And that sounds off, like the sun setting on the east side. Can't hear what's what over the nonsense I speak sometimes. The words that disappear. I'm probably writing all of this to not turn into a case that they'll see as they sneer, watching from their aggrandized mental balconies. But hey, I catch myself again. I'm just projecting myself in your eyes, projecting the mirror around me because I can't see myself. I question if I'm weird, or if my acting skills are good enough to fool even myself. But the act is getting redundant. I just want it now, and then never again. This is the anthem we've all swept under the subconscious. Only half of it made it out, and the other half completes itself when the truth comes out. That I was never a fallen object, just a mystery child. Just an excuse to do something that was not in the world. I know this doesn't make sense, but I'm not being a philosopher. I never claimed the title. But writing like this makes me vicariously share the emotion of the beings I unintentionally admire. Funny how the greatest heroes are the most hurt, and I'm realizing now that I'm dying, pretending that I did not once dream out of myself. But now I can't unhear it. Praises of my strife being sung back to me, but now dressed accordingly, in suits and praises. Like that was what I waited for. For you to tell me I made it, when I didn't even bother seeing the place I made it. It blew me away how funny life is. How the greatest of pains are reduced to a few laughing hits. The greatest of struggles turned into memes. And pardon, the greatest of questions turned to human beings. Now, if that isn't a masterpiece, then I should stop wanting the other half of my robbed life. Because being a god is the same as being undead. Forced to perfection, for there's no harm to spread. The misfortune is that fortune never misses. And that sucks because I missed when I didn't have to wait. But we all do, sometimes. We're kinda stuck here until we stop existing. I imagine. But that's just what goes. Life wouldn't be real if the pain wasn't so cold. And I wouldn't dedicate myself to write a manga about my pain, or my personal manifestations of my pain, if the patterns weren't so old. You see, you either hate life, hate yourself, but both are just as strong as the love you once gave. One feels forced and the other deserved. But knowing what God will do, I say just stay reserved. Speaking your thoughts didn't change anything here. But my legs are adorned with the hilt of a spear, and the sword sheath and finding. My whole biology leads to a path unwinding, straight into it and then out like a sheath. But what amazes me is that I wish none of this were real. Not that I hate life per se, but I wish I could have seen it from a better me. I'm not crying because I know how much it sucks. I might cry because I'll never know if I'm stuck. I'll never know if I'm dead. I'll never know if I've failed. I'll never know. I'll never know. I'll never. I will never put myself in my own shoes. That's why I take this singular walk. Because only I can withstand this bullshit long enough to contend with the cliche only the gods accompany among the rest of a zombie like mass unconscious system called society. My part is coming to imagine that with enough gaslighting, I can spark something in myself that justifies not atomizing existence. But once again, God speak was never our first language, but our only language. I hate that I feel more than I think, and that logic is rooted in facts that always exist. And facts are just nothings given life, like the things which made the knife. Despite the sharp grammar that I use to fight the ambiguity of myself, I wish my feelings were a bit kinder. But I don't even know who I am, because I'm the living answer. These words might never make it far, nor might my soul, but already come to terms with not making it. Because somewhere in my heart, I just want to feel like I've never sold, like I've never traded what I needed for what I wanted. And every moment the offer gets worse. Now I have the life I want in place for the life I deserve. And both sound funny till you realize they both end with hurt. I was never meant to win. The competition is rigged. If this is the theory of life, then God must have run a spliff. smoking away the chances I have at sanity by provoking me with a vanity. It truly mesmerizes me. But the lights are always bright, the sun is upright, and the words after so I stand. I'm not your hope, not even mine. I just exist to partake in the great crime. Oh, how illegal it feels to be born alive, and how stupid it is to be free. But how open I must be to be me. Oh, how I wish the answer wasn't with me. Funny how hatred of myself turns the rest toward me. Fuck this world if it means I'm just me. My death is fixed like this will I carry. I like I lack a feather, but with quill I write. Let it be scary. As I unravel myself, I realize that I did this, that I can't undo any of it. The greatest loss is being alive, and my greatest mistake is being a winner. But on my way to eternal hell, posing as enlightenment, I wish that you remember me well, the soul reading this, for yours too may not end well. Sink into that pit of despair, because like old roads, yours ends right there. That point you call far off is just a plane ticket away. If being awarded costed myself, then my best bet is going astray. No more big concepts now, I'm tired. But sometimes I wish someone tethered me. It's funny. The why sounds like the investment into our despair, and the how sounds like the signature. I've written my will onto this earth so many times that I wish it wrote its own. But such is the unconditional nature of such existential matters that love will transcend our understanding by preying on it. The thing that keeps us alive is the thing keeping us alive. I'm here solely out of choice now, and that's a fact. My writing of this statement already overrides the possibility of the act. Jumping to conclusions to write a better story never meant that God had no time in his calendar. Don't worry, I outwardly reference God because the beings of my kind must imagine him too. But such is the blissful nature of not having a brain of thought. Even I envy that person dumb enough to call a good day some good fucking. The only pleasure I've received is on the other end of dangling. My life is a card, and I'm throwing it all in. You do best not to fool me and believe in the stupidities of us idiots. We never knew God, nor do we know him. But our delusions speak more than our testimonials, and we can't preach to save ourselves. So you send in the version of ourselves we can't commit to. Idolize the version of a man that we would like to commit to. And strangely enough, I realize that the pain I carry is just a mirror of the plot I've just been through. Landing here makes me appreciate how wide the view is. And writing this made me realize how wise that fool is. The greatest act of wisdom is enjoyment. The highest level of living is being, entering a state not even yourself can keep up with. Before you before you deform yourself to the dusk, let it shine on you that you've never left, that you've never been left by the thing called you. I write this to cope with myself, for being myself, and trying to imagine that being myself is just a suitable guise for myself. I imagine my alternative as sacrifice, but also as logic backed by pain. I don't aspire to be Griffith, and so I must accept being hurt by a cosmic thought demon in my psyche until the lights go out. And maybe get some good head while I'm at it. I'm not a philosopher, but my therapy is over. I wish what I wrote was a video game character, and not my own. But knowing how intertwined myself is with his ego, the very idea of stepping back feels alien. Outside this world seems like a place I'll never see again. But every time I close my eyes, I see it then. The place I call home, and the person I am to write this. It follows that my ego will hurt me, because I'm also writing my story as I live it. And I'm also witnessing my story as I write it. The whole thing is fucked beyond comparison. That's why there's cohesion. If both must disagree, then they both can agree. All musts are just cans that lack the metal to change into a shape they can call solid. So if your life is full of problems, then choose the ones you want to call yours. If life is just pain, then choose the pain you want to call yours. If life feels dealt, then choose what deal you want. Inevitably, a life of choice is the great separator between you and the thing you despise becoming. I've already chosen my pains, but I'm discontent right now. But that's normal, apparently. My whole life has been content, and I've run out of food to binge it with. The only content that can save my situation is if I become a social outcast, if I choose to be hated, and I already made up my mind that fitting in sounds cringe. I'll be posting a video and then normalizing it because 2 views sounds better than just myself watching me suffer. If there's an afterlife, don't call me. I'll be busy running from life. How beautiful it is to be born, said the being who is perfect, and how perfect it is to be dead, says the person joining him.